Hi everyone, this is Natalia, Luxury with Natalia on Yachting International Radio, right here from the heart of Monaco at the Hotel de Paris, beautiful location with a very special guest, Antonio Cecere.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Thank you for having me here. I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. And a few years have gone by since we saw each other.
When we met, you mean?
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
Absolutely. A lot of the times in the Automobile Club, in fact.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Was I giving a speech at the time?
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Hence why I think this would be interesting to have you back on.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for having me.
And so things have changed a little bit in your world. Last time I saw you, of course, you were very much involved in the marketing and primarily with sort of the Swarovski group, the Richemont group, and that's how I came to meet you. But now you have evolved into something quite phenomenal and very interesting, especially for the show, as you are the president of the Geneva Diamond Exchange, as well as the founder of the Monaco Diamond Exchange. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A lot of work goes into that, so it's not all fun and glory and drinks.
And drinks like we are having today, which
Absolutely.
is behind the scenes, of course. Luxury wouldn't be luxury without it. So tell us a bit more, Antonio. What is the implication of these two companies?
Well, what's interesting is that obviously we, particularly, of course, the jewelry sector, but specifically the diamond sector, has evolved over decades, and of course, ethical sourcing has become increasingly more important, whereby today even consumers at retail level will ask valid questions like, is it natural or is it ethically sourced? So many years ago, I founded the Monaco Diamond Exchange, of course, and the Geneva Diamond Exchange, whereby we focus on the ethical aspect of diamonds. Primarily, we look at compliance with Kimberley process. Mm-hmm. So Kimberley starts with it's a voluntary regulatory scheme that monitors the afflux of rough diamonds outside of producing countries. Mm-hmm. So they will produce a list of compliant countries. Now, although this is a voluntary system, it has been embraced by 82 governments in the world and incorporated in their trading regulations. Mm-hmm. So it has now been fully implemented. So what we did with both Monaco and Geneva Diamond Exchange is ensure that compliance follows through once the diamonds are still in a rough state, but outside of mining countries, mm-hmm. primarily Africa, of course. Mm-hmm. And this has proven to be the right way forward for an exchange. Other exchanges in the world that are present, they focus on trading floors, mm-hmm. which is something we steered away from. We also decided not to issue a price or a spot price for goods. Mm-hmm. So we solely concentrated on ensuring that diamonds are ethically sourced. Mm-hmm. Now, over time, that cascaded down to another need that we all have in retail across the world, which is, of course, ethical compliance, but when diamonds have been polished. Mm-hmm. So recently, we've incorporated Diamond Standards Organization, which is something that it's a great organization, is now incorporated under the registry of United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. I have to remember
that was a long one there. We're getting very theoretical and acronyms are coming.
And I had to remember everything.
Wow.
Drinking aside.
Maybe that's what helps.
Absolutely. It keeps the flow going.
Wonderful.
And of course, so the idea with the Diamond Standards Organization is to ensure that there is a seamless path for diamonds from rough to retail, so polished, where we can actually follow the ethical side of it. So this has proven to be, again, the right way forward, because today, particularly millennials, and you know, Natalia, millennials are growing up, and their ability to purchase obviously ineluctably increased. Mm-hmm. So it is very important that we understand how today millennials shop.
Right.
They are very informated consumers. They know what they want, they know what they look at, and they're very conscious about the ethical impact that their purchase has on the world. We saw it in fashion, of course, with the furs, but we saw it really across retail, across particularly luxury retail, touching every aspect of production in every segment of luxury, from car manufacturing to fashion, and of course,
and
it came down to jewelry, yachting, of course.
Now more and more, yeah.
Of course. And so creating an organization that ensures that the dots are connected between rough diamonds and polished diamonds, and that a consumer has the absolute certainty at retail that he can purchase or she can purchase an item that has no negative impact on communities around the world is very important. One question I'm often asked is, how does it effectively, so Kimberly or us per se, but Kimberly, how do they really impact communities?
Yes.
We see, we often think that something, an initiative should do something. I'm also of the opinion that in certain cases, especially when you talk about the ethical side of things, is also what they stop from happening. So what Kimberly does is very important because it ensures that the revenue generated by the sale of rough diamonds does not finance illegitimate, illicit operations in the countries where this was where diamonds were originally mined.
I think, yeah, exactly. So it's not just in the diamond industry that this is happening. I find that in the luxury world overall, there's far more laws now that are in place to make sure that everything is done in an ethical way. But is that changing the purchase power? Is that causing issues for certain maisons who, for example, in the past were quite comfortable doing it in a different manner? Or, what's going on there?
Well, I think, luckily for the jewelry sector and the watch sector is a little bit more defined, because when we talk about ethical sourcing, we know about blood diamonds, about conflict diamonds. We know that we went from 80% of the diamonds being legitimately sourced, with a 20% being conflict diamonds in 2003, and then after Kimberly we are now down to 99%. So the impact has been huge in regulating the ethical sourcing. I think in diamonds, therefore, it's a little bit easier. We are a little bit under the microscope because of movies, because of course, it's a luxury item, it's the ultimate luxury item, and therefore it can be ethically looked upon in some ways. But already, if we going back to your question, if you go back to fashion, for instance, different fashion houses, they must decide beforehand where they're going to take their ethical awareness to.
Yes.
So, of course, manufacturing in developing countries presents some challenges in terms of regulation, but also the materials that you use. We touched before on furs.
Yes.
So that is a big problem in fashion, and of course in yachting. Ironically, goes a lot into even the paint you use, the impact that the paint has on global warming, and, so we're all becoming very focused on that.
Policed, right?
Of course.
A good term to use, or not, maybe. But certainly, the purchasing power is still very strong, and markets are changing. For example, what we saw in the past has moved to a lot of Chinese getting more and more interested in the purchasing side for investment even. So the value of diamonds has changed, and for example clear diamonds, what I understand is no longer so much in demand as, for example, colored diamonds, if you wanted to consider investment.
When you look at investments, obviously, you have to look at performance. We're specialists in this, so we look at different sides of this. So you also need to look at how easy it is to exit an investment. So naturally, colorless or clear diamonds they are easier to exit from if they are investment grade. By investment grade, there are different definitions in the world of what is investment grade, or how narrow by investment grade is. Obviously, you're looking at a GIA cert in order to claim it as investment grade. Of course, 1 to 3 carats and triple X, no fluorescence. I'm not gonna get technical about this, but we can narrow it down quite specifically.
Yes.
However, it doesn't mean that a diamond that is not investment grade does not increase in price over time. In fact, the opposite still does. If you have a 5 carats diamond, although it's not technically an investment grade, it's still a great investment. Or your mother's jewelry is still a great investment after 20 years.
Carrying it here now. Yeah, fantastic. So for those watching and listening, I mean, we are very much the end consumers per se. There's quite a few who work in the luxury industry who might be interested in the investment side, but you know, for the average person who has the finance to go about in buying a lovely pair of earrings or a necklace, what is it that one has to look out for?
Well, you touched before the fancy color diamond segment. Naturally, if affordability is there from the consumer side, that's definitely a good way forward. When we look at the 10 years between 2008, 2005, 2008, 2015, 2018, so that decade, we know that pink diamonds above a certain carat size, which is actually quite limited, it's about 2 or 3 carats, they had an increase in value of 460%. These are the decade of the crisis. You look at blue, so this is the maximum. You have blue diamonds, 360%. And of course, you also have yellow diamonds, which is a bit more common. So rarity here plays a big part in this. And yellow diamonds have increased about 270%. When you compare that to markets like the Dow Jones, currencies, gold, industrial, it is actually outstanding. Particularly because you're talking about a physical asset, something you can take with you.
Right, yes, absolutely. And as we are in the heart of Monaco, why did you choose Monaco and what attracts people to come here, especially in the luxury industry?
On a personal level?
Let's have the
well, of course, but look, we live in a fast-changing world. Of course, Monaco attracts new residents. There is about 400 new residents every year here. Or in fact 600 and then 200 leave, so there is a net positive of 400. I'm sorry, the Minister of Finance keeps telling me all of this. And so of course it is a fiscally friendly regime here. So of course there are clear advantages in being a resident of Monaco. At the same time, we live in a time where things change so fast. So in 2016, for instance, Prince Albert signed an agreement, or a number of agreements, with the rest of Europe in terms of banking transparency and all of that sort of regulatory systems that before did not have a presence here in Monaco. They were forced, so I'm not going to say that the appeal for Monaco has changed because Monaco is always Monaco, but we must at all times always keep ourselves in check on where we are in terms of regulatory systems, policies, and often policies are pushed upon us from Europe, our big brother.
Yes.
So we have to comply.
On a day where Brexit is happening, that's nicely put.
You know what is funny? And the night before Brexit, I was at a dinner in the port with a friend. You probably understand what I'm talking about, but we're not going to get into that. But we were all sitting there laughing because we never thought Brexit would take place. Yeah. And both him and I, we had the interests in the country, live interests in the country. And the day after, we all woke up with a sore head,
yes,
and with tangible, measurable losses from which we still haven't recovered from that region of the world.
And what I'm interested to know is what your thoughts are also for the events that are happening that are attracting buyers and clients and representatives of ultra high net worth for example, in Geneva, there are two main shows. So we saw a couple of years ago there was a bit of a dip, and then, so things are changing, sure. But what do you think is going to happen?
Well, what's interesting is that so I'm a loyal attendee of Basel World, in fact. So I go, as you know, to Basel every year.
Where we saw each other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, to an event, a lovely event you managed. Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, of course, you do realize that the crisis is also having an impact on luxury and jewelry and watches. Geneva has historically maintained a position of on watches, so that has stayed, and that is to an extent even grown to the cost of Baselworld. Where I know, for instance, in Baselworld you no longer have the Swatch Group exhibiting there. The Swatch Group is, in terms of manufacturers, the largest watch group in the world. The luxury group remains Richemont.
Yes.
But without a doubt, even Swarovski, even Swatch Group had to come out of Baselworld.
Yes.
So we've seen an impact in the trade shows globally. It's also a matter of deciding for these brands whether a trade show is a marketing exercise where they talk to press like with yourself and they have interviews, they do their events, and then they get publicized all over the world, or is a commercial exercise. Right now, these places are both, which means that costs for participating at these events are hugely high because they look at it as a marketing exercise.
Yes.
But then when you look at the commercial side of things, if you haven't made your money during your show, you start pondering over the fact that whether it is still a functional thing to do. Ultimately, a trade show is there to show you goods and for you to buy. Then press attends and publicizes that. And that's very important for a brand. Now, the world has evolved, and you know that better than me. So today communication happens through channels that we didn't even imagine 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So if today a brand can reach their consumers and show their collections through different channels, how relevant is still for a highly costly marketing budget event for it to take place and deliver that information?
Yes, and I like this synergy because it's very much in comparison with the yachting world as well. And how now we're moving towards more client-centric experiences rather than calling them shows. It's an experience, and really making it more of a cocoon environment. Take your time, less yachts, less of the whole it's not B2B at all, it's very much B2C, and hand-picked partners, luxury partners that are associated with the lifestyle of yachting. So it'll be interesting to see how the jewelry
it's actually funny because now I have a question for you.
No, go on.
Because I was there at the Monaco Yacht Show, and obviously I saw you being very active. I think we briefly spoke, but you were doing all your marketing. But so how did you find that? I mean, as an event, do you think that the Yacht Show Monaco is in the same case scenario as, for instance, Baselworld, or because it's a consumer product where consumers do come and buy?
It's an opportunity for brands to go and showcase their products. Like you said, justly about the comparing with the jewelry sector and the watch sector. However, what I find is, for me personally and my clients, we try to do things beyond the actual parameters of the yacht show because it's not attracting the right clientele who want to spend that time and have that ease of mind and not be bombarded left, right, and center by sales brokers who are dragging them in one direction and the other. Or you have to come back 3 times to visit the yacht because it's so busy with other people who are not necessarily the clients. So we do, my company Bright Creativity, we organize events, high-end events, and we do that either before the show or during the show, but at sea, on the yachts. Very nice tonky, as we say, and hand-picked selection of guests, so 10, 15 maximum. Yes.
And in fact, ironically, it's in line with their pricing policies for tickets, which has gone through the roof in the last edition.
But there's a reason for that, because
they didn't want people to just be going around and wasting people's time.
Exactly. However, with the two new shows that have come in, one is the Pioneer one is happening this in March in Palm Beach, actually. It's called the Super Yacht Experience. And after that, third edition is the Super Yacht Show in Barcelona, which has been very successful and headed up by Libra members, a large broker association. And yeah, it's bringing a different spin to things, and I think that is what people are striving for of that category, who can afford the products. And
the 25 meters plus.
Let's go higher.
40 meters plus.
We just talked about a 70 meter coming on today, so that's the aim, and higher purchase. Check it out online, by the way. So it's just interesting. We live in a very complicated and complex world where we don't know what's going to happen, and with the new generation of clients, can we call them clients or users, whatever, they have a different idea of what they want, and they also like to mix and match. So you might have something that's very valuable matched with something that's bought from Zara, for example, and that's cool, Well,
but that's what I think a lot of these influencers, which is an overly used term, play a role. And today you see many that have no heart or part in today's business. They acquire readership or viewers or whatever it is, and they tell themselves in the world they are influencers. That's actually not true. It's a glorified position that a lot of people that call themselves influencers do not embrace, do not even understand what it is that does.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct that there are many today that in fact are able to democratize luxury and explain trends and show trends. And I've seen this also a lot in beauty, for instance, on not that I've really gone on Instagram looking for a Dior powder, that's not me, but I am aware of that side of things. Of course, it affects also the jewelry and diamond sector. So today things have changed. The way we go about business is different, and there has been an absolute fragmentation in terms of communication. So if before you would do a major advertising campaign on BBC or on the Times, today if you want to talk to your prospective customers, you have different ways to do that. So actually going on Instagram and talking to your followers in an interactive way and in an educational way actually pays dividends at the end. Bridging the gap really is very much the case, and asking questions so that you get reactions. And then you have Twitter, of course, which is now catching on a lot. The dangers of Twitter. Don't talk to me about Twitter, because I'm like, in all fairness, I'm obviously very young, and therefore I should be abreast with all this new technology.
Exactly.
But I am actually not. So it takes two people behind me when I'm on Instagram on my phone to support me with the right button pressing procedure.
Yes, and hashtags. It's all about the hashtags. Well, that's cool. So perhaps my last question then to you, Antonio, would be, what is your definition of luxury? As we are on Luxury with Natalia, and we're surrounded by it in many different forms and means.
Well, I spent my life, my professional life, in working in for luxury companies. The first word that comes to mind when we talk about luxury is rarity. How difficult it is to purchase a product. And of course we have the champions of this, from Hermes to Rolex, who know exactly how to play this game. Ultimately I feel that there is so as you know, I was also a professor at the university here at International University of Monaco.
Yes.
And what I was teaching them is that it is important, I was explaining or sharing with them what I'm teaching, was that there are, when you look at the completion of a luxury purchase, there are three factors, three rationale that cause that. So one is gifting, we call it love in the industry. So it's a love purchase because you love someone, you want to buy something for them, and it's an act of love. It's called gifting. And then there is status and self-reward. So status and self-reward remain present. When you talk about the motivation, the rationale behind the completion of a luxury purchase, it doesn't actually identify the product, because I may very well buy myself a diamond necklace as an act of status, so that when I go to the local bar, I'm going to show that I am ranking in the right spot. But at the same time, you have an aspect where you reward yourself. You worked very hard the whole year, you get your bonus at the end of the year, you want to purchase something for yourself. You must like that.
Yes.
As opposed to people recognizing what there is. So when you look at all the array of brands that we have, for instance, in the watch sector, from the Rolex to the Patek Philippe, actually bring two examples. They can do both. They can be a status purchase because they're highly recognizable, or they are a self-reward purchase because you believe that you deserve it. So, that value proposition will remain untouched. We talk a lot about synthetic diamonds today. A synthetic diamond, to be clear, is not
fake diamond.
A fake diamond. It's a lab-grown diamond. It's a diamond that starts with the real natural diamonds, and then processes applied to it from high temperature pleasure, CVD, different procedures, different syntheses that grow this diamond. So in my sector, we debate a lot about this. Now even Swarovski and De Beers have gone into producing diamonds. The truth is that they will not take away from the natural diamonds because they belong to a different price point.
Yes.
So they may very well take your aquamarine sale, your emerald sale, your ruby sale, but in fact they will not take away from your diamond sale. Because if you're buying an aquamarine, you would definitely not walk into a store to buy a diamond of that size. So there is a price disparity that will encourage and create confidence in consumers to still invest in buying natural diamonds. So our job from our side as market regulators is ensure that we inform and we control the markets so that when a consumer walks through the doors of a beautiful jewelry store, they have the absolute reassurance that they're buying a natural product and that the natural product has been ethically sourced.
Yes. And your definition of luxury, though, because that was amazing, but in terms of what your luxury is, for you personally.
Well, rarity. Rarity. We all have different interpretation of what it is. It's by definition from the vocabulary, a luxury is something that is not needed.
My cup of tea is rare then.
That is a luxurious cup of tea you have there.
There's a single mint leaf in there. It's very rare.
No, but it remains. So, and I can actually give you a very tangible example. A Patek Philippe, any reasonable model, from the 50s, a stainless steel model will cost more than a gold model. And the reason for it is because over time they've been the stainless steel ones, they've been not looked after properly, they've been smelted, they've been disposed of, and in fact the gold instead has been preserved because it is a gold watch.
Yeah.
When today you go into auctions like Christie's, Sotheby's, Phillips and all of that, you will realize that in fact rarity is what is the catalyzer that plays the major factor on, because the excellence
on the
in
value.
Of course,
Wow.
excellence in production. It's everywhere. Whether it's Louis Vuitton or Hermes, it has to be an excellent product. I'm going to talk about more what I work with, Montblanc, Cartier. So when you look at all these brands, even Burberry, all those wonderful brands, they rarity is what is the ultimate catalyzer, and that defends the value, not monetary value, but in perception of a product.
Thank you for that. This has been very insightful. And if anybody has any questions or would like to contact you, because of course with your knowledge and expertise it might be of interest, where can they get hold of you?
Well, of course, you have all my Instagram accounts. I have an official account, which is antonio.cecere.official. I have an official Facebook page, which I think is called the same. But you can Google that, I mean, it'd be easy.
And the website as well.
And of course, the website, Geneva diamondexchange.com, Monaco diamondexchange.com, and diamondstandards.org, and of course, Cecere Monaco. .com.
Luckily, we'll be writing that down underneath the descriptive. So thank you all for watching this episode of Luxury with Natalia, Yachting International Radio. Tune in for more episodes coming soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.